sometimes I'll say time bound, meaning, is it a specific, like, I'll be honest, last year I had about 15 goals. And I don't know why I said I'll be honest, because I promise I've been honest so far. But so last year I had about 15 goals, and there was one that said do stand-up comedy. But I didn't put when it was by or anything like that. And I got to December and I'd hit about 12 of the 15 goals. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna blow that one off. And then I was like, yeah, don't blow it off. And I got to Dallas and I was there for business and I was spending the night, and doggone, the Dallas Comedy Club was just a few, like 2 blocks down. And I looked up, they had open mic. I'm like, whoa, so you had to sign up for open mic. And so I did that and I didn't get picked, okay? But I literally waited till like December 19th or something like that. It would have been much smarter for me to say, develop a little stand-up comedy routine in January. You know, try it out around the house in February. Go find somebody's dog to give it to in March and see if the dog laughs, you know, and then sign up. But no, I just put real vague. And guess what? It didn't get done. Now, I'm going to take a different approach in 2025. This is questionable whether I should do this, but Bill is raising his hand. Yes, Bill.
Well, were you relieved when you didn't get picked?
It was probably 50-50, to be honest. Yeah, yeah,
That's all.
yeah. It was a
Yeah,
what?
I want to, when you go, I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I will probably do it privately. Yeah, I mean, not, you know, without you knowing is what I'd say. But all that to say is, you know, put some real time so that you can do it. But when we're vague, just like, you know, going, I want to get in shape, good things don't happen. And again, I'm not going to give you goals. You know, the staff's not going to give you goals. These are your goals. And we want them to be, again, things that are exciting and relevant and something that you'll go, this will make my life better. And again, who are we becoming? And this is something that, am I becoming what I want to be? So then, as we think about that, a few different ways to look at how we can make sure that we are on the right path and we achieve those goals. And so these are some strategies for staying motivated. One is to break goals into smaller little milestones. So if if I'm starting something from scratch, then I need to go, you know what? I shouldn't go from walking 0 steps a day to 10,000 steps a day. That's not a smart move. But if I could go, okay, you know, let's aim for 3,000 steps per day, 5 days a week for the first 2 weeks, and then grow from there. And then some is to celebrate small wins. You know, just some of it can be just little things like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself to my favorite lunch spot if I achieve that goal. They don't have to be big things. One of my favorite authors is Jack Reacher. And every October, I'm sorry, he's not the author, he's the character. And every October, a new Jack Reacher novel comes out. And there's a lot of times where around September, I'll start thinking about some of the things I want to achieve. And I'll go, if you achieve that, you can buy the new novel. But if you don't, you can't. Gives me a little extra motivation because I'm kind of intrigued to see, you know, who Jack Reacher is fighting and all that kind of stuff. For other people, journaling is a good way, you know, to have that visual of, hey, this is the progress that I'm making. This is where I've gone. There's been some years where I will mark out, you know, 30-ish days in every month, and I will put a little check when I do these things that are daily occurrences. And man, it's exciting when you look at that and you see, man, I have been consistent through this, and I have grown, and I've become what I want to become. Some of these create a vision board. For some people, that's something that kind of helps motivate them. Find an accountability partner. For many people that are social, that's great. I mean, I think your exercise specialist can operate like that too, and is that true? And so, and that's something that they love to do. They love to see that progress for us. But also just visualize success. If you say, like we talked about earlier, I want to be able to play with my grandkids. Visualize. What does that look like? What will be different? Is right now, am I doing everything in the house, but then I could go out to the playground with them? And how would that be? Whatever it might be, I want us to visualize success. So I'm going to have you visualize something, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. How many of you were at the luncheon with Shannon Miller? Okay. She's
there.
I was there.
Yes. Georgia,
Is that there?
Yes.
Hey, Jennifer. She's a gymnast.
Yes, she's the gymnast. Was I there? Oh, yeah, I was on stage. Yeah, that's right. So Shannon Miller is a great gymnast. She competed in the Olympics and all that several years ago. And we're going to talk about a different gymnast. And I want you to think about just think about a gymnast. And I want you to think about what you picture, okay? What do you picture as a gymnast, and what do you picture that gymnast doing? So go ahead. When you think about a gymnast, what are some things you think about?
Walking on that narrow board.
Okay.
Balance,
Balance. Okay.
flexibility.
All right.
Practice.
Okay. How many of you are picturing a male? Okay. So, okay. How many of you are picturing a 15-year-old-ish person, gymnast? 20-ish? 30-ish? Okay. Watch this.
Wow.
86 years old.
Wow.
86 years old.
Yeah, I can't see her face. She looks young.
But it's one of those things, like you were saying, she didn't go out one day and do that. She practiced. She had goals. She took steps. And man, is that humbling and impressive,
Are you bringing those to our centers? I wonder who's doing her laundry.
There you go. So, it's just one of those things that as we think about visualizing, push ourselves, stretch ourselves to think about what success looks like. Here are some things that we can do to set ourselves up for success. And these are just real practical ways. We can block time on your calendar. How many of you keep a calendar? Okay. How many of you have exercise on there? Okay. How many? I'm going to go there. How many of you have stretching on there? Yeah, it's important. But what I have found is if we will be consistent to put the things on our calendar that really matter to us, they are more likely to get done. And so as we think about our priorities and we think about our steps and we think not physical steps, but as we think about taking those actions is going, okay, I'm going to put those things on my calendar that will help me to get to my goal. Create routines. If we go, when I get up in the morning, I do this, at different times in the day, I do that. How many of you are you like routines? Okay. That's a lot of you. You know, some people buck them, some people don't care for routines, but if routines work for you, then create the right routines. Create the ones that will help you to become the person you want to be. Visual reminders and cues. That's a big one for me. Okay, so I told you about the stretching. So I have things out in my house that remind me, you know, I like football. I'm a little sad about the end of football season. But right there on the fireplace, right near where I watch football, there's an old dog leash that I'm supposed to be using to stretch my calves and my hamstrings. Now, if that was hung up in my closet, it would be used a lot less. But because I walk by it and I see it, I use it more. If you put your shoes out the morning before and you look at them, don't make them where you'll trip over them. Put them where you'll see them and go, oh yeah, I was going to walk this morning. You know, whatever it is, those visual reminders and cues. Maybe it's a Post-it note on your mirror, you know, but just put those reminders out there. A little reward and punishment, okay? Doesn't matter, you know, some of us are more motivated by reward, some of us are motivated by punishment, and it's good for us to know that about ourselves. You know, I told you about the Jack Reacher novel. One of my clients, I'll tell you two stories about some of my clients. Two of them said that they were more motivated by punishment. And so I started talking to them about what they might be motivated by. And one of them talked about embarrassment. And not to be political, I won't tell you what party, but one of them said that they were very motivated about politics and were very specific about their party. And so with the one who was motivated by embarrassment, if he didn't do this one thing that he wanted to do, it wasn't me telling him to do, he had to get up at DFW airport and sing I'm a Little Teapot. And he did. And he said, I'm not going to miss again. I don't want to have that happen again. And then the other one, she had to write a $200 check to the opposing political party if she didn't do it. And she said, oh, the thought of doing that motivated her so much. And she did what she said she was going to do, which had been very difficult for her previously, but she was motivated. And so set some things up. I can see that one resonated with y'all. So, and then at the same time, hey, we're not on an island. We've got friends, we've got family, we've got the staff and team at Courage Help. When you need help, hey, raise the flag. Say, hey, I need a little help here. I need a little motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
I think most of us have iPhones or some sort of, you know, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, it's so easy to set up reminders, daily reminders. Mine's, when you talk about stretch, mine goes off at 6 o'clock at night to stretch because I'm usually cooking dinner. Okay. And you know, when the stuff's cooking, I have time to stretch. Yeah. Now, does that mean I stretch every day? But it means I have the opportunity to. Yeah. And you probably off every day. Yeah. And do you realistically stretch more than you would have without? A lot. Yeah. Absolutely. And my wife stretches with me a lot. Okay, even better. Contagious. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Bill. So then as we think as well, again, trying to go, how do we increase the likelihood that we'll get to our goals? Use some resources. Again, we've talked about the exercise specialist. Bill just covered us on apps on the phone. And that's one, is just a simple reminder, but there's other fitness apps and things like that that can help us. We talked a little bit about planners and journals. Online communities can be super helpful, especially at times when we're not getting out as much to do that. Or maybe it's just a friend or family member. Research shows, Carl, right? Yes. Okay, as far as I know, I've never seen Carl before. True. Time will tell whether I ever see Carl again. But yeah, no, I try. But if I tell Carl one of my goals, even if I never see him again, research shows it increases the likelihood that I will do it. Just even by telling somebody. If you told somebody, you know, if you were traveling through Dallas and you told somebody, hey, I'm going to do this, you're more likely to do it. Even if you kind of know you'll never see him again, you're more likely to do it. All the better if it's somebody you see and you think, oh, are they going to ask me? And then all the more if they actually do ask you, hey,
Are you doing that? And so use the things that are available to you. So there's some challenges oftentimes that we have to face. We need to be aware, need to be realistic. You know, some of it is just good old time management. You know, do we wake up and go, oh, I'll do that later? And then we fill the day and we go through and we're like, oh, there's another day that I didn't exercise, another day that I didn't write a note of encouragement to somebody, another day when I didn't call, whatever that might be. But then too, watch out for misplaced priorities. Things that really don't matter to you, but they take a lot of our time. Or it's people putting their priorities on you. How many of you have trouble saying no? Yeah, pretty common. And it's one of those things where we need to go, you know what, just because somebody asked, or just because it's their priority, or just because they waited until the last minute, it doesn't mean that it's our priority. And sometimes we need to practice saying no. Let's do it real quick right now. Say no.
No.
A little more emphatically.
No.
Wow, you're good at it. Yeah, that was good. You know, but I will say this, sometimes especially nice people, which y'all seem like a very nice group of people, is sometimes we have trouble with it, and y'all said that, but sometimes we need to have a little strategy for that. And sometimes it might be, let me look at my calendar and get back to you. Let me talk to my spouse and get back to you. Let me talk to my boss and see if this is what I should be doing, whatever the kind of situation that you are in, but not feeling like you have to answer right then and there, because very few things really require that, okay? And so giving yourself a little time and space can be super helpful. And then this is one I do want to see. How many of you deal with negative self-talk, that little voice that's negative?
Sure.
Yeah. Research shows that our self-talk is 80% negative. 80%. And this is one that I've really focused on for both myself and for my clients this last year. I did a lot of research, but so Trevor, how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
4 kids. And what are their ages, Trevor?
Put me on the spot here now.
Yeah, get close, you know.
15, 13, 11, and 9.
15, 13, 11, and 9. Yeah, we'll give him.
Don't ask me for birthdays.
Yeah. So Trevor, this I am putting you on the spot. Do your kids ever talk back to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, 15, 13, 11, 9. Yeah, we would expect so. And what do you commonly do when they do talk back to you?
Sure. You know, it's context dependent, but I think generally just let them know that's not respectful and won't be tolerated, and there will be consequences, punishments, things taken away, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And probably most of us that had kids and have kids, or young kids, I should say, we did that same approach. So why do we let our self-talk just do whatever it wants? I would encourage you to get in the habit of doing what Trevor does to his kids, is correct them and go, you're not going to let you talk to me that way. Now, I will say this, don't do it out loud, okay? Because then it gets kind of weird, and then we have a whole nother set of issues. But when that negative self-talk comes in, talk back and go, well, give me some evidence. Do you not realize what I did for 40 years? Push back on it, because it's 80% negative. And I don't know the research on the percentage that's accurate, but in my experience, both personal and professional, a lot of it is wrong and just not true. And push back. And I like to go, well, give me some evidence of that. And that usually shuts it down pretty good. And so be willing to face that and push back, just like you probably did as a parent, and go, you know what, that is just not right. And I'm not going to let you talk to me that way. I'm going to put you in timeout, or whatever it might be. I like this quote. So, if we start thinking it and we just let it go rampant, we let that negative self-talk go in a direction, you know what? Then we're probably going to say something about ourselves that's just not accurate, which then becomes actions and habits and so forth. So, man, let's get our thoughts going. I can do this. I can move on. So, we need to remind ourselves of our why sometimes. With our goals, why is it important? Why does it matter? Why is our health matter? And I pulled this from the website. I think that's a great quote. I'll just read it in case these people on the screen can't read. We believe that movement is a form of medicine. We're committed to empowering you to take control of your health and well-being, and we'll be there every step of the way to support you. So, question for you all, what are the benefits of regular exercise and stretching?
More energy.
More energy. Feel better? Okay.
Well, feel better mentally as well as
Okay.
physically.
What else? Keep them coming. Okay. Hold on a second. What happens when we have better balance? Yeah, absolutely.
Zoom, if y'all want to type them in the chat, I can tell Brian and we'll add them.
Thank you, Jennifer. What else? Keep them coming, and it's okay for you pros to jump in as well, okay?
Able to play with your grandkids and great grandkids, because you can get it on the floor and get up.
Okay,
Good luck.
so getting on the floor is one thing, getting back up is a whole nother, right? And both of those are important, yeah.
We have stronger and overall better health.
Stronger. Keep them coming,
Better sleep.
okay?
I think something like y'all get to see your favorite exercise specialist.
Good.
In connection with others.
Yeah.
So many of the courage practices or group.
More stamina.
Okay.
Increased quality of life off of Zoom.
Increased quality of life.
Feel better, more self-esteem.
Yeah. What happens when we do that? When we have greater self-esteem? Okay, yeah. And we could just go on and on with what those benefits are, what we do, the way we carry ourselves, the way we address things that need to be addressed, all kinds of things. I think that's a good enough list. Is that a good enough list?
And not all of these things are, but then somebody else is watching you, so
Ooh.
you might be helping someone else.
Okay, so role model.
Oh, and I like this one. We just got your clothes fit better. Yes, Julie.
Yeah, clothes fit. There we go.
Thank y'all on Zoom.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. All right, so if you want to, feel free at the end, come up and take a picture, just again, as a little reminder, as a little bit of motivation when you're flipping through the phone and looking at grandkid pics, you go, oh, yeah, a little bit of extra motivation. Okay, so what I want you to do is, I want you to turn to the back page of this, page 2. And we're gonna try to make sure we make this applicable. And so if you would, go ahead and answer the questions on page 2 of your handout.
Page 2.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Figure my hair. Anybody have any-
Hey, Bill, B17 is out of place. If you could just move to B17.
Get out of here.
Oh, is that the same now?
Let's put a specific number of naps there. Okay, let's make it real specific and how long they should be.
Power nap. That's-
Did you get it? I know.
No, it's not. I'll see what I can do.
It looks like people are still working, so I'll give you just 3 or 4 more minutes. But you may have a little homework. All right, let's go ahead and if you would, find a partner and share the answer to 2 of those questions. You choose which ones, and then I'll start to wrap us up and we'll do a little Q&A. All right, so share the answer to 2 of those questions.
No, coming back.
Y'all can type into chat the answer to 2 questions if you like. That'd be awesome. Let others see.
What do you want to do?
Okay, 1 minute. Okay. All right, so want to open it up to questions. Any questions for me? Any questions for the Courage Health team? Anybody have any questions? Going once. Okay, well, I want to thank you all for coming. And I want to remind you, if you want to take a picture, feel free. You also might want to take a picture of this. Don't take a picture of me, Bill. Take a picture of that. Take a picture of that. But then I want to close with this.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, does anybody know who this is?
Yeah,
Who is it, Bill?
Roger Bannister, the first.
All
man to
right.
break the 4-minute mile, which was impossible.
Exactly. So in 1954, Roger Bannister did what nobody had done before. Many had said could never be done. He broke the 4-minute mile in a 1-mile race. And with that, what is interesting is people had been trying for so long. He had worked at it for 8 years. So here's what happened though. 46 days later, another man broke his record. Within 3 years, 16 other runners broke that 4-minute mile. So it had never been done. But then when Roger Bannister did it, others came along quickly. What was the difference? Challenge, okay?
And believe that it could be.
Absolutely. It's that mindset. And so we've got to make sure that we have the mindset that we can achieve our goals. And I believe you can. The staff believes you can. Let's make sure you believe you can. And when you do, great things will happen and you'll become what you want to become. And so thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you all and have a fabulous day. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer for
Thank
some
you, Brian.
final word.
So Brian has his own company, Kaylee told you all a little bit about, but if anybody wants to look more at his website and see everything that he offers, I know that he has inspired me personally, just like Kaylee said. We were actually talking about we're holding each other accountable on a, this year, I'm celebrating my 40th birthday in June. But to honor that or celebrate, I guess.
Still sleeping in a cradle.
I'm writing 1 note of gratitude a day. So all years. So when I told Brian I'll do that, he said, I'm going to join you on that. Well, it's kind of easy to get, you just get busy or forget. And so we were talking about holding each other accountable on goals. So all of us need it. So I want, if you did your goals, to please share them with your exercise specialist so they can hold you accountable, especially if it's exercise related. And many of you have probably been in the program for a while now, so you might have forgot, but when you first joined, we talk about goal setting at your, baseline evaluation, and we do short-term goals and long-term goals. And that's why we want to be able to help you and we want to hold you accountable and we want you to reach your goals, because then you're more likely to continue, with healthy habits. So again, thank you to Brian. Especially thank you to Kaylee for setting this up, so. Yes, this is the first time that we've really offered it, like Kaylee probably said, we've launched the KourageConnects education series. We've been wanting to provide more education for y'all. And so Kaylee has reached out to set it up one time a month. And again, we have volunteers like Brian who are donating their time and expertise. So I hope y'all will come back to the next one. So does anybody have anything else? No, we appreciate y'all trusting us, letting us be a part of your health and wellness journey. And if there's anything that we can ever do to make it better, we're here. We want your feedback. So thank y'all. Yeah. Thank you, everybody on Zoom. That's a great lecture, Brian. If y'all have any words for Brian, I'll make sure he sees that.
I'll get it.